Yeah, some sequences that were scary to me as a child. You know, you see Spirit of the Forest dancing and eating ebo, which is sacrifice. And that image alone haunted me for years. Ooh. Is all of this in frame? Oh, my name is Taiwo Egunjobi. I'm a filmmaker. I write films occasionally. I run a film blog occasionally. I started making films in 2013. I was in school and I had an idea to do a psychodrama. And so I started writing it, and then I found a couple of friends in theater arts. And then I started making films. So at that point on, I made lots of short films, lots of experiments. But started in 2013. It was quite the thing. I mean, I didn't have any experience at all. I didn't even realize until day one. I didn't realize how many people it required to make a film. I'd always felt if you had a camera, I could just get. But you know, day one of shoot, I saw 20 people I don't know from anywhere, 30 people walking around, carrying heavy stuff, moving around. I said, wow. So it really takes an army to make a film. That was the first experience I had. I'd always simplified the process of writing stories, and when I saw the first cut, I had a lot of sadness and sorrow. And then I realized, okay, you need to go learn how to write. And then that took me to becoming a writer. So I became a writer from that point on, before coming back to making films. The moment they asked that question, I started thinking, and different films came to my mind. You know, it was difficult to put them down, so I had to just take 3 for symbolic reasons. So the first film I mentioned was Taiwo Egunjobi by Tunde Kelani. The second film, Dr. Zhivago by David Lane. The third film is Tokyo Story by Rosa. Those 3 films represent 3 different experiences. Taiwo Egunjobi was the first film I remember, and that's because my dad used to buy cassettes of those films. So I remember that film, and of all Tunde Kelani's films, it's the one film that really affected me for a very long time in different ways. As a child, it was scary. Yeah, some sequences that were scary to me as a child. You know, you see Spirit of the Forest dancing and eating ebo, which is sacrifice. And that image alone haunted me for years. Ooh. Anybody has seen that film will know that sound. That sound was with me for decades, you know. But later, I started going back to Taiwo Egunjobi when I was in university. I started realizing how much thematic power it had, you know, in the sense that, you know, it was speaking, it was a satire about greed. You know, satire about environmentalism, about the push and pull between culture and modernity. You know, so that became a flashpoint in my education that, oh, films can actually be interesting as well as mean something. Second film on that list is Dr. Zhivago. I never got Dr. Zhivago. I tried rewatching it last week. I made 3 hours, 14 minutes. But that was the first time I saw that showed me the complexity of cinema. Dr. Zhivago was just 3 hours. You watch it then, already had the original cassette. You also keep watching for hours, and you don't know what's going on, but you can just see beautiful people, beautiful faces, red, beautiful costumes, lovely snow falling, and it's just beautiful. And that refines your taste. From that point on, it was difficult for me to seriously enjoy what we were renting from the stores as Caskin Hollywood. Of course, you enjoyed the performances, but you knew this was inferior stuff. The third film, I watched it quite later on in my life. That's Tokyo Story by Rosa, who I didn't know until 2018 or so. And for a very long time, I'd been researching how do we tell stories minimally. I mean, this is Nigeria. We don't have access to many things to do the kind of things I want to do. So growing up, I wanted to do sword and sandal epics. Gladiator, that's all I wanted to really do. Just violence, that's all but I just knew it wasn't. So I've been thinking about minimalism a lot. To Kill Story was for me an exercise in textual minimalism, stylistic minimalism. I mean, I saw a film that was just a couple go to see their children in the city and these children don't see them. It's just a story about, I mean, it's the kind of stuff we would do in Nollywood, but it was rendered so truthfully and without cliche and without trying to force you to feel anything. And you watch it, and the camera is not moving. How is the camera not moving? I thought we had to move the camera to generate excitement. We had been taught, all the books we read, those who taught me minimalism, and I'm grateful for that. Film Dr. Zivago is a sad scene. This story is a 3-hour love story about two married people, basically, who fall in love but cannot be together because of different things. Either the revolution in Russia, either the Russian Civil War. And he's not seen this lady in years. The war has separated them. And he finally sees her, but he's in a train and she's on the road. She's still walking because he's too excited, he can't shout. And do you know he dies on the road? Heart attack. I mean, she never sees him. She just keeps going, and the camera keeps on following her as she goes. And this guy dies in the middle of the street. People are walking because it's like a metro. Sad. Always haunted me. Like, yes, societies require storytelling that clearly distinguishes good and evil. We need that. Now there are gray areas. When I'm not going to play a morally ambiguous film to my daughter, my 1-year-old daughter. No, I'm going to play to her that doing bad is bad. We're in a dangerous time currently where filmmakers want to talk more about the grays. And it's almost becoming like we have lost faith in humanity, but I think we need an healthy balance of both. There's this version of the Joker that they try to be empathetic about the Joker, and that's entertaining stuff, and it's good, it's well made, but be careful. Be careful not to justify evil because we want to excavate how evil began. I was lucky that my dad was a traveled man. So he used to buy lots of cassettes. And I realized yesterday, I think it's a cinema. Because some of the films we had at home are obscure. Why do we have a film about an Italian overweight composer? Why do we have that film in the house? So having those films really shaped my expectation of what a film should be. After watching Taiwo Egunjobi, I went to meet TK and asked him some questions about the story. This shouldn't have happened. If this was the case, this shouldn't have happened. And I don't even remember, but he laughed at me and said, man, we've done it, we've moved on, move on. So yeah, I mean, you find things later, but you just, you appreciate what has been done, Because Zivago, I feel is too long. Not because you can't make 3-hour, 40-minute films, but you are making a romantic drama, of a very complicated book. And that was a criticism that a lot of critics at the time had. It made money. It's the 9th most successful film ever done. Lots of Oscars. But, I mean, go see it. Because 4 minutes is, you just wrote intermission. Nothing is happening, just wrote intermission. I mean, and that's the thing of old film, but that was even too long. Critics wrote that that's too long. And the intermission in the middle too is so long. Like, nothing's happening, just like 8 minutes, there's nothing happening, it's just with intermission. Like, of course, they used to do that one so people could go out and rest, but even critics at the time complained, Tokyo Story, I have no notes about it. I pray I'm that bold one day to do the kind of things he did, Everything you see is what you see. They don't have off-screen conversations. Yeah, I mean, I leaned in a lot on Tokyo Story for how I photographed in Ibadan. Of course, I refer more to Ida, but I would say, like I said, it was discovering Tokyo Story that told me that, my guy, this language is legit. You know, a lot of us today are taught to be very minimalistic, you know, when we're starting out, because it's just smarter to minimize the kind of things you're doing and just tell your story. More than anything, Ozu told me that you could do that and be honest. I feel a lot of us do it and we are pretentious. And yes, there's an age to be pretentious and be, you know. But what I've tried to do with Tuyanele, and it's representative of every film Tunde Keleni has done, is I've tried to ensure that my Yoruba-ness is in there some way in my stories. And I've tried to do what Tuyanele does a lot in my story, because I think it's key to me as a person. And now I understand life. I think as Nigerians, let me just explain what I mean. As Nigerians, we tend to blame other people for our outcomes a lot. So Nigerians, we blame the government a lot for our outcomes. We never blame ourselves. You know, we never look at ourselves as part of the collective, you know, and look at the culture that creates our outcomes. The culture that we have of a chief who's supposed to protect his institution, his Tuyanele, is the one who has been paid. And that chief, we have such a chief everywhere in Nigeria. So Antike has done that in every film he's done. That not only the people at the top who have these problems that we all like blaming other people, but we also as individuals. And that's key to what I do as a filmmaker. It doesn't matter if it reflects the times or not. Frank Capra said the only sin in cinema is do not be boring. That's the most important rule. And some people even try to be boring, you know, and yet we still accept them the way they are. So it's a crazy job to do. I think as a Nigerian filmmaker, you have a responsibility to not only entertain, but shine the correct light on the correct issues. Whether that means cultural reformation, whether that means spiritual revival, whether that means a return to intellectualism and philosophy, you must be awake to your responsibility as an African storyteller. I was never necessarily connected to any mainstream opportunities. You know, I would send my script for competitions. None of them ever selected me. I never won anything. Even the ones that all my friends were getting into, I never got into anything. It was like I had village people, you know, following me. I do the things I want to do, basically. I tell the kind of stories I want to tell. Whether it takes me a year to develop it, whether it takes me 2 years to develop it, whether it means I won't get anybody to offer me some money to make their films, I'm okay. Like I tell my guys, I'm content with my Gary. I think it's good to start that way. And I think that's what I'm about now. I want to be able to tell stories as much as possible on my own terms. What scares me the most is making a lot of films that are not important. It scares me a lot. It scares me a lot. So my daily work is trying to make my current project the most important film anybody has seen.
About 3, and then you mentioned the first film that comes to your mind.
Please don't embarrass me. Wedding party, of course. Who would have thought that a wedding film would do so well commercially? And it was so memorable with memorable lines, you know, proper Nollywood hits, and that really helped more people to believe in what Nollywood is about. Why did people join two people together to like this? Abuja. I'll have said life starts to Abuja, but I won't say it. It blooms in June. It was made in Abuja by my friend Korede Aziz, and I couldn't help but notice how she spent some time photographing the film, photographing the Abuja space. Abuja filmmaking community, I hear you know those people, you always feel like they always have some international funding there. They should share it with the rest of us. Grief, one of the best films I saw on Grief was Manchester by the Sea by Kenneth Lonergan. My twin brother said, guy, I'm not a cinephile, but go and watch that film. And I went to watch it. And I was blown away. The film talks about grief, exposes grief in a very funny and honest way. It's one of the references for In Ibadan. Yeah. Which is about to see. It's one of those films I watch before making anything. That's all.
Yeah, it's a wrap.
Now let me question you.